Back everybody, Yeti Trades here, going over something I'm a little excited to talk about. It's a video I kind of wanted to make for a while, and it's about when should you add in to a position to lower your price average. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not very often. It's not a great habit to try to get into. If you're in a losing position, you need to be able to cut it. So I'm going to go over a trade I took on SPY, and where I should have added into it today but didn't. So right here, I took calls on the day. And looking at this now, of course, not the best place for calls. And I'll show you what I was looking at while it was forming. I couldn't see all this. I can't see into the future. So this is all I had, one little candlestick at a time. So this was forming, and what I was looking for was this pullback into the 9 EMA, holding, approaching this upper resistance support line that I have drawn out, and I was looking to long it off of this. But as the rest of it started to form, I started to know in the back of my mind I should probably cut this and go short on it instead. But I didn't. So this was forming what I call the TSDR roll. It's when we move up and we have a sharp change. Now this can happen on the long side or the short side, and it follows the trend. It's a reversal play. So you trend up and now we're going to reversal down, or you can be trending down and you're going to reversal up. So it works either way. And it's when you pull up and you have a sharp pullback, an unorderly pullback. If we pulled back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, that's not a TSDR setup. We pulled back 2 sharp candles and started to form. And like I said, I couldn't see this portion yet. So I got in on this right here near the EMA as we broke for calls. But as we started to roll at a lower high is when I should have gotten out. But I didn't. My risk was the 20 EMA here, and we were still trending up on it up until this candle formed. Because remember, before this one forms, this line is still pointing up. So until this one forms and knifes down, the EMA is still going up. But I should have recognized that the 9 here was flattening out. But I didn't sell. I held it. And I held it for 2 reasons. One, we got this 427.69. This is a big spot for SPY last few days. And that's why I have it in yellow, so it can be a quick identifier to me. That's a more important spot than the ones in white. We knife down to it, and I give it a chance to work off here, and then it knifes down again. And it moves down so fast with so much volume that I was actually comfortable holding it because I was fairly certain we were going to get a bounce. Now, this doesn't work every time, but I've seen it a lot lately, where either you get a massive move, spike up, and then it gives it all back, or you get a big spike down and it pulls it all back. And that's exactly what happened on this one. So I remained calm, I remained focused. My calls were for 429 on Friday, so 3 days out to expiration. So it wasn't like they were moving exponentially on this drop. It was, of course, more than I wanted to. If I ended up cutting it, it would have sucked. But anyway, we're getting to what I want to talk about. When to add to your position. This is a thing, like I said, you shouldn't get comfortable with doing. And if another candle had formed and just kept pushing down, I would have cut it for, a decent loss, at least percentage wise. Much more than what I like to play with. But we moved down so fast that I just had that instinct or that feeling that we were going to pop right back up, and we did. And because I had that feeling, I should have added either here as we went back above the previous day close or back above the VWAP. If I would have added at either of these two spots, it would have put my break even level in right around this area, the bottom of these candle bodies. And that's what I was first looking at to do, was find my break even spot to get out of this trade if I needed to, if it wasn't going to continue this bounce up. I didn't take it. And part of that was just because I couldn't get that thought out of the back of my head that I don't want to put more money into this position and have to cut it at an even bigger loss if it decides to knife down again. So I didn't do anything on this first one. And I watched how everything was forming, and we kept trending up, you know, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So we still had buyers stepping in, pushing it up. And then we had this nice big candle here. We shoot back up above this resistance line, and then we pull back into the 50 EMA, and we bounce off of it again. This was the second spot I was considering adding to my position. If I would have added here, it would have put my break even back at the top of this candle instead of up here around this area. So there's a fine line to adding to your position, right? It's not something that's going to work out for you most of the time, especially on a play like this. It's a little bit harder to pull off successfully. It's different if you just have a really slow flag forming, a bull flag, and maybe you buy in a little early here and then it pulls back to the 20, so you add just a couple more here to bring your average down, and then it bounces off. This is a completely different move here. But it is something to consider, because I would have had the opportunity to make profit on this candle, or at least get out break even, or make profit on this candle or get out break even. So what ended up happening? Well, I let it play out. I stayed with the original position, original size, and on this candle here, I took my first profits. I didn't sell the whole position, I scaled out. And all we did was test a high a day. Came up, tested it, failed, and it held up here for about 15 seconds on this 2-minute candle. And that's a pretty indicative wick, like all of a sudden we're stuck and we can't get higher. I should have just went ahead and closed the whole thing. So then it pulls back down. Alright, we're back into the 9. Gonna give this another chance to pop. Doesn't work. And I cut the rest down here for a loss. So what was I thinking when I let it come back down? Well, we're back at this big important 427.69 line. So I wanted it at first to have a chance to play out. But now my EMAs are crossing. The 9's coming under the 20, and we're doing it orderly down here. We're just consolidating on top of the line. The candles are getting smaller on top. The EMAs are both trending down, so I cut it down here for my loss. And I flipped short right here. Almost the top of this candle. And then I let it play out on the EMAs. So we pulled down, got in a little early, because this was a beautiful, telltale sign that we weren't going to hold this spot up here. When it big candle comes up with a big wick that comes back below the EMA, this zone right here would have been a good spot to add a couple more to my size, but I didn't. So I let this play out, and I took profit here, here, and here. So between this trade, which was a bigger position, I go a little bit bigger in the morning than I do in the afternoon, and then this trade here, I was basically break even on the day. I was minus $5 for the day. So right in this area here, I decided, well, okay, I'm done for the day. I'm going to leave. But then some stuff started forming out, and I wanted to see how it was going to play, so I didn't leave. And we got here. We're up at this trend line, this support resistance line, not trend line. And this is what I was watching. We came up, had a hard time getting over it. And then we put in a nice little red doji candle, reversal candle. It's not a clean doji. And as this candle broke my support resistance line, I went short, and I covered right here above the 20 EMA at 428. And I was happy with that trade. It put me back in green for the day, kept my green streak alive, which really, it's not, I'm not working to keep my green streak alive. That's not in the back of my mind. But anyway, missed some more meat of that move, but that's okay. Kept me from being right on the day anyway. So that was how I played SPY today. I choked on a few trades, not taking them. I watched the clean setups happen and just didn't pull the trigger, which happens, but it's one of those things too when you're trying to slow down the amount of trades you take. It's one of those things that are going to happen. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. Let me know if you got any questions on anything. Otherwise, I will see y'all next time. Thanks.